Good morning. How's things? Welcome, etc., etc. So, it's been a week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk. This is again just talking about a few things. I want to carry over from last week the topic that I forgot about the Twitch issue. Okay, I want to talk about that one. That one's sort of carried over from last week. Now, I must also apologise. I am a little bit loopy because I've taken painkillers. So, my apologies if I fucking sound like incoherent nonsense. Anyway, but so there's four things I just kind of want to talk about. One is the Hannah Gadsby special. Two is Michael Moore and this situation that's going on here. The Trump meltdown that's going on at the moment, which, I know I need to probably be a bit more specific about that, but I'm talking specifically about his threat to take on social media and social media platforms, and also this Twitch Safety Advisory Council appointment. I want to put some sanity into this because I think that this really highlights some of how this tribalism really stifles debate. I'm going to try and do that whilst on painkillers. So wish me luck. Fuck. Where'd my coffee go? Oh, it's there. Okay. So, I'm not sure if anyone's there, but anyway. So, what should I start with? What do I feel like? I'll talk about Hannah Gadsby first because that'll warm me up. And I've been thinking about this, right? So Hannah Gadsby's new comedy special dropped this week on Monday, and it was fucking amazing. Like, she's just anybody who okay. I'm a bit of a stand-up nerd, so don't get me started. This is one of those things where I talk for hours and hours and hours on end about the craft of comedy. I'm somebody who studies the craft but's too chicken shit to actually do comedy, right? But I really understand the theory of comedy. And the thing that frustrates me, and this again, the common theme here is that fucking this tribalism is just ridiculous. It's like, pull your fucking heads in, all of you. Because, again, people reacted as predicted. Hannah Gadsby, woke comedian, not funny. Take her on face value, which is one thing that I think people shouldn't do because I think she's a lot more subversive and a lot more clever than you'd think. And you can say, if just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean that they're not funny, okay? If you look purely at the theory of comedy, in terms of her pacing, in terms of the way she writes her jokes, in terms of the way that she, the setup and punchline and pacing and the way that she deconstructs comedy. I'm sorry, guys, but objectively, she's a fucking great comedian. So just because you don't like the subject material, and you can't hack being the butt of the joke, which is a lot of it, right? Which is that one of these things with comedy, and especially men in comedy, especially bros in comedy, is this idea that this gaslighting that's like, it was just a joke, relax. It's just a joke, relax. Yeah, just a joke, fucking relax. All right? So, I'm going to defend Hannah Gadsby. Now, what I found interesting about that, I can't stop thinking about this gender thing, because she said, she's obviously said some stuff about Hermione being a TERF. Now, I'm running into fucking Harry Potter town. I'm on record as not really giving a fuck about Harry Potter. All right. Yes, very much so. It's not really my thing. But one thing I do know through my kids is that Hannah Gadsby calling Hermione a TERF, right? Now, for those who don't know, a TERF is a highly, highly toxic word. It is used to describe feminists and, feminists and, basically women who don't accept that men can just simply identify themselves into women's spaces, right? That was the traditional definition. It's now become a fair game, battle cry, right, of the woke left, which is if you get called a TERF or a bigot, that is then fair. You are now fair game, right, for this cult. So, social justice issues aside, if you're still arguing that TERF is an acceptable word, then no, it's not acceptable. Stop defending it, it's not cool. Okay, so Hannah Gadsby said that she did it. There's a whole bunch of really great subversive stuff in there, but in the context of that, so the exact words were, Hermione was a TERF, fuck her. Okay, now this is interesting. I think that, and I just want to put this out there. This is, I'm not a media studies person. I don't want to overthink it. I think there's a few people who want to, I don't think that we've lost Hannah. I don't think so. What I think she's done, because Hermione's actually very clever. She's usually right, as one of my friends pointed out. And this is only my superficial understanding of the character of Hermione, and also the fact that I'm not big into this fucking cinema studies nonsense, right? But to get a read on the semiotics of this, right? In the context of this joke, right? Hannah made it very clear that throughout, it was actually very cool. She played with structure. She said that she was going to be laying breadcrumbs. Okay, so she also said that she was going to be dropping a series of hints. Right? She also made a very clear point that comedy is not something that is an accident, right? Through her art story, she's like, at some point, this is very, and she even made jokes about things being very meta, right? So she said that, that everything in art is it's not an accident, it's a decision. And if we hold that to be true, which is the idea that she was putting breadcrumbs down, right? Laying breadcrumbs. Everything is an artistic decision. That means that calling Hermione, the character in Harry Potter, a TERF, and saying fuck her, right? It's very clever because she's actually a smart woman, right? She's strong. She sticks up for herself. She doesn't take any shit. And that's actually, and also the context from what I understand about online, I only understand this from the online tribes point of view, right? Sorry, so B said looks up semiotics. That just means symbols. Sorry. Semiotics is the study of signs and symbols and meaning in messaging. Sorry. So look at the subtext of this. It's so clever. And I'm sitting there going, you know what? We're never going to know this. Because honestly, until this thing plays out, we're not going to actually know her view. Because if she is being subversive, which I suspect she is, okay, Hannah Gadsby is somebody who has experienced the very real oppression of being a lesbian, okay? She has experienced male violence. She can't, unless she has gone off the deep end, which I highly doubt, I don't think that she buys this shit. Anyway, I'm just saying, so I've just been thinking about how beautifully designed that joke was, because the idea is, what it does is it introduces her audience to this debate if they're not familiar with it already, right? I highly doubt Hannah Gadsby would be deliberately alienating the lesbian base that she's built over the years. We also know that a lot of these people are fucking dumb and literal, right? So they'll take it on face value, which is Hannah Gadsby said fuck TERFs, but I don't think she did. They're already sharing the gif. And Hannah herself said, I'm laying bait, right? It's fucking brilliant. Anyway, again, this is speculation. I'm not going to talk too much about this. I just wanted to put that little theory out there, which is that the common theme, right? It was, like the fact that she's even using Harry Potter with all of that, scandal around J.K. Rowling being a TERF, right? Again, I note that Douglas was written before that. But the fact that she even named the show about the pouch of Douglas, right? The dog, and that went to the effort to talk about oddly specific female biology, right? And I sit there and I go, this isn't an accident. I'd be interested to see, if you haven't seen it already, reread it with what I've said, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, knowing more about Harry Potter, because I know, we all know who Voldemort is in this case, don't we? But there's so many other characters that we could, if Hannah was trying to make the point that she was sort of anti-TERF, she wouldn't have chosen a character like Hermione. because, that was what I was going to say, the fandoms. So in the fandoms, one thing I've noticed is that there's an incredibly misogynistic vibe to those that criticise the character of Hermione. And a lot of the debate is around the fact that she is assertive, she's smart, she's bossy, all of those things, and dudes hate her. So what's actually really interesting is that Hermione would be a TERF. Right? Because she doesn't take shit. So it's actually a very clever joke. So anyway, I know that I don't like to overanalyze this stuff, but I just thought that I'd put my ideas out there, do a little bit of sort of, it feels a little bit like I'm being one of those Tumblr kids, but I just found it very interesting. And when you look at the way that she deconstructed the comedy and the way that she hid in plain sight, and my words were that she pandered to the dummies and piqued the interest of intelligent people, because there's going to be people that look this up as well. And so I find it very interesting the way that she walked that line, because if I was writing a stand-up act and performing it, and if I could, be as brilliant as her, I may be attributing more brilliance to her than I should be, but I truly believe that this is actually a very wonderful and subversive series of hints. And also, the other thing that I thought, so again, taking that she was a TERF, fuck her, in context, right? There was also that whole bit about anti-vaxxers and that punchline, right? Which is facts and feelings. That's something that, well, Ben Shapiro has said, right, against gender, right? This is something that a lot of people say, which is that facts don't care about your feelings. The fact that she would use that in her anti-vaxxer rant, I just can't see how someone as intelligent, because again, my brain works exactly like Hannah Gadsby's. Like people say that I'm like her all the time, and I remind her of, it's like, thank you very much, that's very kind. But my brain works the same way, right? And so I'm sitting here thinking that just felt obvious to me what the message was in the context of that if this is true with the anti-vaxxer thing, that there's facts, not feelings, that she literally said she was going to lay bait, she was going to lay crumbs, but I think it's a bait and switch. I don't think because the Louis C.K. joke, I don't think that was the bait. See, that's the thing, right? That was hacky. Very clever. I would actually suggest that you re-watch it in line with my theory on this. Okay, anyway. I love what I'm actually enjoying. It's kind of being boring. I know. I'll move on to the next topic. But this idea that how comedians are navigating cancel culture, right? And how, especially those that are like Hannah and people who have a large LGBT audience, how they navigate that, right? How Michelle Wolf navigated it, how some people don't touch it, right? How Daniel Sloss navigated something like that, because we saw him live last year. His special isn't out yet, but a big part of his stuff about rape, right? It basically alludes to the idea that women's toilets are unsafe. And basically his strategy is to ignore the tea and make it glaringly obvious that it's not about them. And it's actually very interesting. That's a special that I hope comes up soon, because I'd like to revisit that. So what I think is interesting, so basically, anyway, I talk too much about this one issue, but I just wanted to put those thoughts out there because I think it's actually quite significant. And Hannah Gadsby is objectively funny. Okay, I busted a gut, right? And also I think that a lot of that sort of non-binary thing the non-binary crack that she had, and just the sarcasm, she's like, oh, that's just the tone. Again, my brain works like hers. Oh, this is a bit inclusive, a nice inclusive pronouns. That was the tone she used. Again, people that are very literal wouldn't have heard the subtext. I could be wrong. I could be reading too much into this, but I don't think that I am. I think that because the joke is the idea that, underneath that is that women suffer at the hands of men, women are victims of violence, and then she does this throwaway line, which is never a throwaway line in comedy. People who know comedy know that there are no throwaway lines, right? And the throwaway, I can't remember what it was, but it was basically like, oh, if you're non-binary, then what the fuck is, it's so much harder for you. But again, depends on the tone, right? Could be dripping with sarcasm. So I actually want to rewatch it. I'd love to do. I know that nobody cares about my opinion on comedy, but I just love talking about it. I love deconstructing it because I think it's very important. Also, I'm just being a bit nerdy about the process of comedy at the moment because, first of all, I'm finishing writing my book, so I'm learning a lot more about comedy writing. And because it is meant to be funny, even though it's not. It's very earnest, but it's also funny. But I'm also reading, audiobooking, listening to a George Carlin biography at the moment. So I'm sort of very much in the comedy theory camp at the moment. So it's anyway, moving on. So Michael Moore. Oh my God. How disappointing. So Michael Moore's been cancelled. With the new podcast, right, I'm going to start having an obituary every week for those that have fallen. It's just getting fucking ridiculous, isn't it? It's getting pretty fucking stupid at this point. So basically, so for those who don't know, and if you are even watching, Michael Moore was the executive producer on a documentary called Planet of the Humans, which basically was critical of the green industry. Again, I'm not getting into the debate. I'm just fucking sick of this shit. It's like, we know what he meant. He was asking questions, and one thing Michael Moore has always done is try to challenge, ask difficult questions, right? Bowling for Columbine is one of my favourite movies. Like I saw that when I was, it was out in 2002. So when my daughter was a baby, and I that ability to fuse comedy and there we go, related, not unrelated to Hannah Gadsby or The President. The ability to fuse very serious things with comedy is a gift. And a lot of people don't see how powerful that can be in terms of persuasion. So I've always been such a huge Michael Moore fan, and I watched Planet of the Humans, and I just went, oh yeah, I can take that. I'll listen to it. Okay, interesting. But of course, it's got to be cancelled because what the fuck is going on? All right. Anyway, let me share the screen because this is. Hang on, wrong one. Michael Moore. Because what I find frustrating, right? And again, look at me, I'm on painkillers. I know I'm waffling. But Michael Moore film Planet of the Humans was removed from YouTube. Now, it wasn't banned or suppressed as such. What happened was that, and this is a common strategy for this, I guess, the cult. Let's just use them as just say that these activists, right? It's a legitimate strategy. They know how to misuse tech platforms and tech platform policies to get their way and to silence people, right? One thing. So this is what I'll get to this with Trump. But one thing that the strategies are very different between the right and the left, and the problem is that the left get away with it and the right don't. The right tend to be out in your face, threatening people, harassing people, whatever. They get themselves banned from platforms, and left-wing extremists tend to like exploiting those loopholes in those platforms. Like that. That's sort of, again, it's like Seinfeld, Boys punch each other, girls tease you till you develop an eating disorder. It's like that kind of difference between right and left. So anyway, so basically these guys know what to do. They've done this with, Desmond is amazing. A lot of the stuff is, anyone who criticizes things, if you show, this is why I don't show the videos of things because of the wokes and stuff, because I know that they can get me on a copyright claim and have my channel get a copyright strike, even if it's illegitimate, right? So British environmental photographer's copyright claim prompts website to remove the film that has been condemned by client scientists, right? Oh, fuck off, Guardian. I'm sick of these fucking naggy things. All right. Anyway, we'll only read the TLDR anyway. But the movie, which has been condemned as inaccurate, go back to the beginning. YouTube has taken down the controversial Michael Moore-produced documentary, Planet of the Humans, in response to a copyright infringement claim by a British environmental photographer, right? So basically it was like, I think it's 4 seconds of footage, right? Which falls under fair use. But the thing that is that this is a loophole, which is often abused by activists. They do it a lot. Desmond is amazing. Critics of Desmond is amazing. Use this strategy a bit. Sorry about that slurring. Desmond is amazing. Oh, articulate, pronounce. No, anyway, fuck it. So basically, what they do is, because the way that YouTube copyright strikes work is that YouTube don't take sides. So if someone, let's say you own the music or a piece of art or a piece of footage, and you put a copyright claim in, right? Even if it's fair use, even if YouTube's policy is to basically say, well, go to court, not my problem, not my problem, not my problem. I think they're just gone Barleys. So basically that creates a loophole, which is that you don't need a court order to remove the content, right? You can just ask them to remove the offending content, whether it's legitimate or not. And if you get, like in this case, it's 4 seconds of footage. The photographer didn't like being aligned with this fucking... It's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Oh my God, these people. Like, oh my... Anyway. Anyway. This will roll out in court. They'll figure it out. Just cut it out, whatever. They'll just probably just re-edit it and put it back up. But at the same time, it's a strategy. But it's just disappointing to see that even Michael Moore, Bill Maher, myself, anybody, like I read my article that I posted on the weekend about, dealing, when are the left going to deal with their own authoritarianism and the freaks and all of these things? Because like anyone who is not insane is currently a fucking TERF and a Nazi and fair game. Like it's dangerous, right? Especially the violent shit that I'm starting to see now. Right? There was an article posted last night that thankfully Medium have taken down, but it was basically inciting violence towards any TERFs and women, right? That question this thing. This is incredibly dangerous, and it's basically read like a psychotic manifesto about infiltrating organisations, taking them over, squeezing them out, creating lots and lots of like different not-for-profits to try and get rid of them, talk over them, all these sorts of all these tactical entryist strategies, right? Honestly, I'm starting to think that that's actually a deep fake article and deep fake person, because what I understand to be true with the trans rights activists in particular is that they organise in the background. They don't organise out in public like that, right? I don't think that they're necessarily aligned with the key players. I think it's just a fucking lunatic who's an Antifa, who's in Antifa, sorry, and trying to attach themselves. I don't know. I think it's very important to understand the concept of black propaganda and also deep fakes, and also that it's, there's going to be people that write these things, will write a manifesto to make it look like a certain side is unhinged when, I don't think the gender critical crew I think the conservative right would do that, right? And I don't put it past them. And I know that that's, tactically speaking, American politics is so ugly. And so again, benefit of the doubt, I want to know if the person who wrote that manifesto is a real person. I don't know about that. Honestly, I think that for everything that I know about this organisation, yes, they get a little bit greedy. Yes, they hide in plain sight. Yes, they get off on on getting away with it, naming their organisations with subversive, pedophilic fucking stuff, and they get off on that. That's established. But one thing I do know is that they keep all their squabbles private. They take it offline, and they have private and secure WhatsApp groups and stuff. They don't post tactical shit on a public platform like that. So I would have healthy skepticism for an article that reads like that, and really ask whether it's a genuine thing. So anyway, it's worth it. Just be critical, and when you're being critical, reading is very important. And so I'm going to do a little bit of work today on seeing if this is a real person and looking through my networks and stuff, because I actually don't think they are. So anyway, and if they are, a real person, then I would imagine that they're just a fucking lone crazy inciting fucking violence and just off the deep end. I would say that it reads too crazy to be genuine. Okay, that's the thing. It reads too extreme to be genuine, and it's just not the strategy that trans rights activists use. They organise behind, and just the fact that they're using the word entryism and those things, those are words that critics of those types of things use, like myself. I've talked about entryism, I think, before, where you take over an organisation. And so I don't know about it strikes me as black propaganda. I don't know. Anyway. It was still vile, and I'll see if I can get it's since been removed, but I'm going to try and get an archive copy. I'll put it in the comments of this video or of the blog post. Anyway, I wrote a thing. I wrote something. Go read it. What I'm going to start doing is also I'm creating a second podcast, which is pure. It's just my blog cast, right? So it'll be where you can listen to an audio mostly because I want to get better at the voice work side of things, and voice production and podcasting, but also just for accessibility, I would like to, I'm basically going to have audio versions of everything that I write from now on. So sort of like an audio book version of my blog posts. So that's just something that I want to do more of, and move to audio and have a written thing. Again, if you want to support me and help me, or find me a publisher, or find me someone who can invest in what I'm trying to build, by all means, that would be very much welcome. Now, dearie me. Okay, so, I lost track of Michael Moore. Let's just move on from that. Fuck it. All right. So, where are we? Nope. This one. Okay. I have to talk about this one because I'm getting frustrated, because I think I have a perspective on this from a user experience point of view, somebody who's worked in tech companies, worked with tech companies, and lead projects, right? One thing I do is lead projects, get projects out of the line, over the line. Sorry. So working with stakeholders, all of that sort of stuff. One thing I'm good at is engagement and community engagement and getting shit done. Now, the gamers have flipped their fucking lids over this, right? Now, my initial thought was, where's my fucking... whatever. Okay. I think I closed it. Give me a second. Where's the blog post? The blog mention. Here we go. So, now... So this was, 2 weeks ago now already. So, introducing the Twitch Safety Advisory Council. Okay, now, there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding about what these types of things are, right? So what these advisory councils are, I've talked about this with Twitter, I think, as well, and Facebook, is that they are representatives of the community who advise the tech company on moderation, features, all of that sort of stuff. So here we go. So let's read this. The Safety Advisory Council. So Twitch, okay, let's go back. Old people, Twitch, gaming, streaming, okay, streaming platform for gamers and podcasts and that sort of stuff. So, excuse me, I'm appearing on Twitch right now. Excuse me. So the safety advisory, so they've set up a safety advisory council, right? Again, because a lot of this stuff, harassment and all those things are a real problem. Let's acknowledge it. Okay, I will defend gaming till my dying breath, but at the same time, there's a fucking problem with harassment, right? So the Safety Advisory Council will inform and guide decisions made at Twitch by contributing their experience, expertise, and belief in Twitch's mission of empowering communities to create together. That's just corporate wank, right? The council will. It's kind of it's what I was talking about with James DeMott, where they just create these things and go, yeah, there you go. They hear a rumble, excuse me, from the social justice crew, and then they go, oh yeah, okay. Go on, let's just create a committee and give you some work. In any political organisation, you create a committee, keeps them happy, keeps them busy, keeps them distracted, and you can get on with everyday business, right? Normally, that's what would happen. Excuse me, my voice has gone all sexy and husky. So basically, the council just advises on a number of topics, right? So that's including drafting new policies and policy updates, fine. Developing products and features to improve safety and moderation. Promoting healthy streaming and work-life balance habits, right? That's another problem, right? For professional streamers in particular, where they have to be on all the time and work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to make any money. So again, these are a very good mission. Excuse me. Protecting the interests of marginalised groups. Again, harassment on gaming platforms is a problem, as is things like radicalisation, pedophilia. They're real problems, okay, on both ends. Right? Identifying emerging trends that could impact the Twitch experience. Okay, so let me mute my microphone for 1 minute because I want to clear my throat. Okay. Okay, that's better. It was just sitting there. Okay, now it's comprised of online safety experts and policy people and various stakeholders. Okay, so the important thing here is to remember that engaging stakeholders is really important, and fucking all these dickheads. Anyway, so ferociously Steph. Now I don't like picking on individuals. One thing that I want to do moving forward is not pick on individuals, because I don't like the fact that Twitch have sort of allowed this person and exposed this person to this. No, like the fact that they would allow them to do this is concerning, right? I believe that these tech companies have a duty of care to people, and they shouldn't be throwing them under the bus, right? Okay. Now, so Twitch announces Safety Advisory Council while member immediately deals with harassment, which is true. Okay, there's always that fucking cohort of people that deal with harassment, right? Excuse me. Well, semiotics is just the study of media and meaning and deriving and symbolism. That's all it means, right? Now, so the problem is this person then experienced hate, all of that. Oh, fucking whatever. My brain's turned to mush. Can we just talk about Trump? I'm sick of talking about this stuff. It's getting to the point, right, can I just rant, where, you know what, both sides can fuck off and fucking pull their heads in, all right? Now, what I'm going to do is defend Twitch. I'm going to ignore the article. I'm just going to talk. So these safety councils exist for a reason. They have a good reason, okay? I'm sick of this purist bullshit, which it's clear that you just don't want fucking anyone who's not a gamer dude on the panel, okay? That's the thing. Until we deal with that problem, this isn't yours, okay? Now, the reason why I'm frustrated with the way that they harass ferociously Steph, I don't like their behavior. I think they are a bad choice, okay? I think that Twitch knew exactly what they were fucking in for, and they deserve everything they get, criticism-wise. That said, okay, the fact remains that these committees they should be diverse, okay? And when I say diverse, I mean they I don't know what their pronouns are, fuck me, but this person represents a large chunk of fucking Twitch's target audience and customers and streamer base and partners. And whether you like it or not, the SJWs could still be there. So part of the reason that I get frustrated is that they have every right to be there, okay? They have a voice. And what would you do? Like, you engage your enemies, okay? You don't fucking sit there and try to shut them down and say, bully this poor person off Twitter, right? I don't care if they're horrible or not, right? I don't think it was a good idea. But at the same time, Twitch is clever, because what they've done is they have appointed somebody who represents the loopies that cancel everything. You got to put things, all of these policies and everything, like because I've worked in user experience design, a big part of what I do is consulting with users and stakeholders and customers and that sort of stuff. Running workshops, doing user research, right? You don't just shut out a whole bunch of fucking customers because you don't like them. That's bad practice. You engage them. She's representative of the voices, Okay, she might have terrible ideas, but she can go on the committee and have those terrible ideas, and she has a right to be there, right? That cohort should be represented. Now, they shouldn't have power, right? Okay, but it's important, right? It's important that these voices get heard. It's important that they get put into the sandbox where they belong, right? And that my frustration is not that these people exist, because they always have, right? And when I say these people, I mean fucking lunatic SJW types, right? They've always been there. They're Trotskyists, they're extremists. They've been around since the beginning of fucking time, right? Absolutely mental. That said, if you've got 1 million of these people on your platform, they need a representative on the council, because otherwise they're just going to sit there and accuse Twitch of like white supremacy 24/7. Okay, it's called stakeholder engagement, stakeholder management. It's basic. It's a fundamental part of the design process, right, and product design, and that means that Twitch are actually fucking doing decent human-centered design work. They're engaging their community, even the crazy ones. Okay, so trying to bully someone off that committee. It's not like she was appointed as CEO, for fuck's sake. Okay? Anyway, and that's why I have a different view on this, which is that, there is a problem with misogyny in gaming. I've said before, there's a problem with misogyny in tech. There's a problem with a lack of diversity in tech. Okay? And what I'm seeing is not, there's a problem with this person and the diversity and inclusion has gone too far. What I'm seeing is bros who just want to fucking dominate, and that's not okay. So you can fuck right off. Also, I'm going to talk about this with Trump and with social media platform bias and conservatives, all those claims about conservative bias, right, against conservative voices on social media. No, that's not, like they've lost, I can see why they would think that, okay? I can see why there's a perception that there is a bias against conservative voices, but it's not. I believe more and more, the more that I see things, the more I believe Jack when he says it's about the behaviour, right? The thing is that the right, they behave abhorrently, okay? The left behave differently, okay? So this is what they do, okay? So this is how, so the left don't get banned as much generally, right? And I'm just going to say left and right just for fucking economy's sake. Okay, I'm talking about the Tumblr and the 4chan, these fucking tribal wars that are making us all fucking exhausted, okay? So the Tumblr crew know how to use, like I said, use copyright law, use the process, manipulate the process, use hate speech, infiltrate the organisation, change things at the policy level. That's something that the left have always been better at doing, right? Is being in the institution and winning hearts and minds, right? And the right fucking harass people. And fucking, do you know what? And I'll tell you, my experience is that I'm still vastly, even though I will criticise this woke cult because I think that there is a legitimate threat there, I am more scared of right-wing MRA fucking trolls, right? And TRAs, but right-wing fucking trolls than I ever would be of the left, right? The left will just ban you and they'll just be mean to you and they'll block you, okay? Or they'll just use that's why this TRA thing looks like it. They behave like the fucking most aggressive of MRAs. Like, the right behaves abhorrently. They behave abusively. There is no bias. The behavior is more aggressive. Okay? Anyway, so that's just a rant. So, that's my thoughts on that. I can't remember why I was saying that. But it's just frustrating because, anyway. If you go around calling people, the left get you blocked and banned, the right send you death and rape threats. Okay? I don't know if you see what, with Kathy Griffin. Hey, Dave. Yeah, I'm going off. I'm on painkillers too, so I hope I sound coherent. But anyway, are we going to talk about Trump having a tantrum? Now, this is another thing that pisses me off, okay? I'm going to rant about this too, because he's actually fucking, this is a serious issue. The tech platforms, regulation, these are serious problems that need bipartisan, worldwide, multidisciplinary, serious, non-toddler-like responses. These are complex societal problems, and basically this fuckwit is now just being a fuckwit. And the one opportunity that we had to do this right and break up tech companies and, hold them, work this out amicably, now it's basically a fight to see who can fucking manipulate the platforms to their advantage the best, right? It's fucking stupid. It's like I've said this, there is no anti-conservative bias necessarily, okay? It's just that they behave a certain fucking way. They're like, if you've ever been on the receiving end of the right, because unfortunately the problem with being a non-woke lefty or a TERF, right, still on the left but a non-woke one, right, is that I'll be talking on, a podcast or have someone on or whatever and gather some of their audience. And then they'll realize I'm a feminist and abuse me and mansplain me and fucking threaten me, right? I receive abuse from both fucking sides. And I'll tell you, even though I'm talking about this phenomenon of this like weird cult that's taken over, right? And they are dangerous and I think that it's a real threat. I'm sorry, but the others are a lot more scary, okay? So anyway, the bias is real, but it's for a reason, okay? Anyway, so the behavior is vastly, vastly scarier and vastly different. Now, sorry, let me screen share because someone's fucking shat the nappies, right? Pretty funny. Trump threatens to close down social media platforms after Twitter fact checks claims on mail-in voting fraud, right? Which, again, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but it's like, fuck, you idiot. Like, now this has become a political shit fight, which is either Trump or anti-Trump, right? So putting fact check on his, okay, let me think. Fact checking someone with 80 million followers on Twitter, right, is important. But what that does is it triggers a mechanism in law, right? Because Twitter has always defended themselves as saying that we are a platform, we don't editorialize, we don't fact check, right? I've talked about this before. Twitter now, they're not a platform anymore. There needs to be a new structure, a new legal structure in place for them to be some sort of utility. Sorry, I'm slurring my T's today because I'm a little bit fucking high on painkillers. But there needs to be a new structure that, obviously we can break them up with antitrust and stuff like that, but the laws don't exist. The correct laws don't exist. So basically this fuckwit's gone and done. This pisses me off because privacy is a problem, surveillance is a problem, who owns our data is a problem, right? But this made me laugh. I need to speak to the manager of Twitter. Fucking Trump Karen cracked me up, man. Anyway, that's pretty funny. So, where this happened? Okay, I've shat the bed with this stream. I'm fucking loopy. So, Twitter labels Trump tweets as potentially misleading for the first time, right? Which is funny. And all the platforms have been doing. Instagram's been doing this, right? And it's something. I don't envy this team trying to fix some of these problems. I think that Twitter is fucking dying a slow death. I think that, it's these are not easy problems to solve. But basically, someone's had a fucking. So it's only two of his tweets, right, have received the label. So on Tuesday, Twitter labelled 2 tweets from President Donald Trump making false statements about mail-in voting as potentially misleading, right? And then, so basically what that means is that they have like potential, but what that basically means, sorry, brain fucking gone. I'm gone. All right. Let me stop. Let me think. So what this means, the implications of this is that then means that Twitter is now a publisher because they are now determining what is and is not true. Okay. Now, I can understand. So the two competing thoughts here. You are either a platform and everything is on there, or you are a publisher and you are held accountable for what's on your platform, right? I hope that came out right. But basically, Trump had a wobbly. Where are we? So he threatens to close it down. Here we go. So this is from Reuters. Trump to sign executive order on social media on Thursday, right? US President Donald Trump will sign an executive order on social media companies on Thursday, White House officials said, after Trump threatened to shut down the platform he accused. So he's threatening Twitter on Twitter, which I find funny, but whatever. I tend to do that too. Whatever. The officials who spoke to reporters traveling with Trump to Washington from Florida, blah, 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 gave no further details. So it's not clear whether he's got the authority, which I doubt he does. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. Oh, fucking hell. This is just, and I sit there and I go, fuck, I've been waiting years for them to reel this stuff in. I've been talking about this on my channel forever. And now it's going to be, fuck. We're all fucked. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm depressed. Does anyone want to talk about anything else? The world's burning. Read my article. I'm writing another one, and I'm finishing chapter 1 of my book, which is being released on Patreon. Ahead of schedule. I was going to do it on June 30, but I may do it next week. So get in there. I'm actually going to create a $1 tier because I think $1 for a chapter of a book is, pretty reasonable. But if you want to help me, that would be great. I really need to get this thing fucking happening. So now that I've sort of broken the seal on my writer's block, I'll be more and more content, hopefully. Quality content like this. Like me on painkillers. It's fabulous, isn't it? So let's pour whiskey on top of this and see what happens. No, don't drink. So I'm going to go. It's been 47 minutes. So I've been so David said you've been a canary in the coal mine on the social media stuff. I have been. No one's listening, right? No one's been listening. Like part of the chapter, the reason why I want to release this book, I've actually been writing it for a decade, and the problem is that it's not. It may end up having to push it back again because the context has changed again, which is that now. A lot of this it's called Dying by the Sword, right? That's the name of the book, which is that there's a lot of unintended consequences with this. And I'm telling it through my story, right? It's basically a memoir of all these sort of hints and stories it's basically a love letter to the internet, but also a critique of it, right? And a critique of social media and trying to diagnose how we got here, right? Podcast is an extension of that as well. So, and now to see the President of the United States just threatening to shut this stuff down and we're heading into all-out war over this stuff, I don't, and honestly, I've been critical of Twitter, but I think they're doing the best they can do. I understand their point of view. The same thing with Twitch, right? Bullying people is fucked. Like, I'm going to stop with my content. Like, I'm going to interview people who people don't like, okay? That's going to happen. Hang on one sec. I'm going to be interviewing controversial people, right? I'm going to have Graham Linehan on there. I'm going to have people that you don't fucking like. However, I'm not going to be responsible for the bullying of individuals, ever, right? Even that's part of the reason why I didn't want to talk about this deer thing was because, there's still a person under there and clearly somebody who is autistic, okay? Obviously autistic, right? And I know that, fucking sue me, I can tell, right? Autistic as shit, clearly fucking quite unwell as a person, right? And the platforms using these people as fodder, right? The mainstream media, like using children, right? And propping, it's basically like, oh, look, let's put this person up and make them look crazy. Ha ha, isn't that hilarious? Like even with Jessica Yaniv, right? Even though they've done some pretty heinous things, there's still a person there, right? Fucking very unwell person. But at the same time, like, where do we lose our empathy and humanity when it comes to this stuff, right? You can criticize the systems that cause these things, these phenomena. So I'm focused on the phenomenon and the systems and the policy and the problem, right? But harassing the individual is not okay, right? And we have to engage. And you know what, gamers, you don't own gaming, okay? You don't own it. It would be nice if, like we could be included a bit more and you weren't such cunts about this stuff, okay? I love Borderlands 3, okay? It's great. I think without at least a little bit of pressure from the wokes, the storytelling in that is pretty woke, right? But it's great. It's good. It can still be good. And that's coming back to Hannah Gadsby, which is that you can, this narrative that everything woke or everything SJW, this is just, there's a cult that's formed out of these ideas, but it doesn't invalidate the principles. It doesn't invalidate the ideas necessarily, okay? That's why I'm just so fucking over it, right? And so Constant Disappointment said he can't actually shut it down though, is it? No. So Trump can't shut it down, right? It's funny. See, I think it's just funny. I love watching him have a fucking tantrum. But we don't know what's true anymore. What pisses me off is that there's very real problems with tech, right? Very real problems especially with surveillance, behavioral products, what the trade-off is for us. We're not the product, right? People are not the product. Users are not the product with tech platforms. We're the raw materials for the products, which is behavioral predictive shit, right? The ability to predict and control. And as I've said before, if you can predict people, you can make them predictable, right? That's psychology. And Constant Disappointment says there's no reason to feel empathy for people who never feel it. It's counterproductive. Well, I'm not saying I necessarily feel empathy for that person. I'm saying I acknowledge their humanity, okay? And I think that it's really important to make sure that we acknowledge the humanity of a person. And I just won't, I don't know. I just don't like this picking on individuals and I've been on the receiving end of these things. And one thing that Mega Mean Plex is going to do is talk about people who've been on the receiving end and talk to people who have been on the receiving end of mobs. I've been on the receiving end of mobs and it's awful, okay? And I don't care who you are. You don't like it. You just, it's awful. And I don't know how to, I don't know. I think maybe we just try to rise above that stuff and try to be better. And I'm not making excuses for any of this behaviour. We need to sit and draw a line in the sand and go, no, this behaviour is unacceptable, but it has to be unacceptable across the board, right? That's the thing. I sit there seeing all these fucking dudes going, cancel culture, Clem Ford. Oh, sorry about that. I think I'm a bit loud, am I? But with Clem Ford, right? Oh, fucking cancel culture. Oh, fuck them. I can't do it. But the second she fucks up, they harass her, cancel, try to get her removed. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You've got to be consistent with that stuff, right? And so when I say you can empathize, it's possible to, okay, there's a difference between, this, maybe we could talk about the psychology of this with an actual psychologist because, I'm out of my lane there. Again, this is just one, half of a grad dip in psych talking here, right? But I'd like to I've got a couple of psych friends actually that I could talk to. But there is a difference between empathy and being emotional and having low emotional regulation and having no boundaries, right? And I've had this conversation, I don't want to bring too much of my personal life into this, but I have this problem with certain family members who think that it's a toxic form of empathy, which is that they over empathize to the point where they have no boundaries. Okay, it's possible to have empathy and still have boundaries and empathize, right? There's a difference between, I don't know. I don't know. We'll talk about that with someone with an expert, but I'd love to start exploring that. So I'm hoping to get that podcast happening. Now, the reason why I'm held up is, first of all, it's always fucking money that holds me up, but also because the more that I have to work, the less that I can do this. This is very time-consuming work, but the other hold up is that I've got a lot of yeses, for the podcast, but the order in which I have people on is tricky, okay? Because, I can't come out swinging with someone like Graham, right? I can't come out swinging with, people like, whatever. I really, really just want to have a balance. And I also want to have more Australian voices. I don't want to be another podcast with, just the same usual suspects. I'd like to have a global focus, right, about this stuff. But at the same time, there's no American. I'm so fucking sick of the American culture wars dominating everything. And it's like, we've got our own problems, and I'd like to have, and we're not America, okay? A lot of their toxic shit is bleeding into our culture, which I find extraordinarily worrying because, we're losing our culture to America, right? We really are. And when I talk about diversity, I'm not talking about just that's the real diversity fight that we need to have, which is to make sure that we are not swallowed by the American Civil War that's going on right now. I'm fucking sick of this shit. I'm bored with it. Okay. It's just, you don't own us, America. Although I do like your exchange rates at the moment. I shouldn't be pissing off Americans or like UK people. But anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. I'm under an hour, but I hope this made sense. I'm sorry if it didn't. My tailbone pain is it comes and goes. And when I work along, because, I have a desk job, and the problem is that I have tailbone pain, and it's made worse by sitting. So if I work a long day, like coding or designing or doing what I need to do, if I'm sitting for a long time, I end up like in agony the next day. And I've had 3 solid days of sitting for like 12 hours. So I'm in agony and on painkillers. So yeah, it's frustrating. But anyway, stop whinging about that, Taya. No one gives a fuck. Yes. So thank you for watching. I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. I'm going to do the Memeplex podcast. I am trying to get it up and running next week. I'm trying to do audio versions of my blog posts. Constant Disappointment said, thanks, mate. Always in. How dare you call me mate and misgender me like that? Mate. I like it when men call me mate. I love it. That is you know what? I love that because that's a real sign of respect. I actually see it as a sign of respect and equality, right? I love that. I love it. Anyway, I'd pay money to be as sensible as you. Take it easy. Peace. Yeah, I agree. Take it easy. Peace. But yeah, thank you. I love you. Share if you can, actually, like, just sort of recommend me to people. If there's anyone you'd like me to talk to specifically, obviously starting a podcast from zero, I've got a network of people, but I've got to be very careful. I've got my business network of people, but then I can't put them under the bus and alongside the controversial people. So I'd really need to figure out the order and the pace and the way I tell the story. I'd like it to unfold the way it did for me, which was, that sort of realizing what was happening with the turf war. Then it sort of bled into other things. And then I started that thread that I talk about in my De-Wokening series, that thread being pulled around how I was behaving and conducting myself, and how I was arguing from emotion and in a stupid place rather than arguing with my brain and logic and keeping my emotions under control. And, that sort of journey that I've been on, and emotional regulation, and sort of, I think I'm a better person for it. I'm trying to be better. And the next frontier of that is to not single out individuals, but talk about the phenomenon and the systems and stuff. And I see, even this Twitch thing with Ferociously Steph, that's a symptom of a problem, but it's also like, they're a legitimate demographic, right? The crazy pink-haired fucks who call everyone white supremacist, they're a demographic. They're a base. They're a tribe. And it's purely business, purely from a stakeholder engagement point of view. They should have a seat at the table because they represent part of their audience. So calm your tits, everyone. I love you. I'm going. I took 10 minutes to go, like I usually do, but thank you. Please, help me out wherever you can. I love you. Bye.